Welcome back. Amazon versus Bernie Sanders, the shopping giant hitting back at the Vermont senator who has been vocal about safety among Amazon workers, saying that they're risking their lives to fulfill holiday orders while denying them benefits. Sanders tweeting earlier this week, quote, Jeff Bezos, the wealthiest man alive, became $83 billion richer over the past 9 months while Amazon made record profits. Meanwhile, Amazon workers are risking their lives to fill holiday orders and are denied paid sick leave and hazard pay. This ugly corporate greed must end. Now, Amazon fired back, saying the company offers paid sick leave and benefits for full-time employees, pays at least double the federal minimum wage, and has created 275,000 new jobs since the pandemic. Joe, your reaction to this? You certainly can see both sides of the story here.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Amazon workers have complained in the past in terms of the way they're treated. Many had, not many, but I should say there were many cases in terms of COVID early on, March and April in warehouses. There was one in New Jersey, actually, just last week that shut down as a result of rising COVID cases. And you would think that Jeff Bezos, who is the richest man, I believe, still in the world right now, would put a little bit more care in terms of that, in terms of pay as well, even though they do have the minimum wage at $15, and they were one of the first companies to do so. As you say, there are two sides to this story. So Amazon, obviously a great company, has changed everything in terms of the way we shop. Many retailers, not many, but a good handful, are out of business now as a result, because when people say, hey, if I could just get the same product or same item delivered to my house in a day or two, why should I go to a crowded mall and have to deal with all that? So yeah, they've changed the way we shop. They've changed the whole dynamic in terms of retail, but I would think they could take some money and give a little bit back more to their workers, even more than they are now, Jackie.
You think they could, Scott, and you look at this stock and the way it's moved during the pandemic, because so many people relied on Amazon and shipping those essential items right to their doorstep, and you can see what the stock has done over the course of the last year right there on that chart. Investors believe in this company. At the same time, you've got Jeff Bezos. He's worth $187 billion. $83 billion of it came during the pandemic. You think he could give a little bit back? Do you think shareholders would mind?
No, they wouldn't. I'm a shareholder, so I wouldn't mind, certainly, Jackie. But Amazon kind of does whatever it wants these days because it's gigantic, number one, living up to its name. And there's a lot going on at the company. You mentioned the retail side, but they've got Amazon Web Services, which is amazing, and the pharmaceutical side, which they're getting into, which I think is going to be even bigger than a lot of people expect. Here's the thing about Amazon, though, to me, and gosh, I love Bernie Sanders and his comments at just roughly before 6 a.m. This morning, because Central Time. You know, Amazon, yes, record profits, a lot of growth on the top line, but they've also, to your point, something you let in with, they've created tens of thousands of jobs since the pandemic began and hundreds of thousands over the course of the existence of the company. They've enriched the lives of many people in the community from where they've established business or established warehouses. And they've continued to contribute well, not as great as many people would expect, to their workers. A lot of people in surveys have said they love working there. So the reality is Amazon does have that positive effect, I believe, on, say, their workers, the employment, the community in which they exist. So with respect to what they should do going forward, yes, more, say, I guess, social experiences would be good with respect to how they spend some of their money. But I think they're doing just fine as far as how they've contributed so far to their existence.
Joe, I'm wondering what you think about the view of Amazon as a company with its dominance and power, the way Scott's talking about its expansion. We saw it go into the grocery business. It's going to make a foray into the pharmaceutical business as well. And we're talking so much about big tech and antitrust issues as we head into 2021. That's going to be really important here. Do you think Amazon, in some ways, is going to be a target and sort of a sitting duck?
You have to wonder, right, under a Democratic administration and Elizabeth Warren, even though not in the administration, but certainly that she will be targeting companies like Amazon, like Facebook, like Google, as far as antitrust and breaking them up, quite frankly, like we saw in the 80s way back when. I know you were barely born in the 80s, Jackie, but there was this,
I wasn't either.
this big company. All right, good point. Very good point. We can't discriminate here on any gender level. But yeah, remember the baby bells were all created as a result of a very large phone company that the government thought was too big. So we'll have to see about that as far as Amazon. But you know what? And it was mentioned before, when you're that big of a company, you can do whatever you want. You also have resources from a legal perspective that make sure that a company like yours, if you're Jeff Bezos, don't get broken up, and you put up one hell of a fight if that attempt is attempted at this point. But yeah, the diversity of the company in terms of going in all those directions, in terms of pharmaceutical, you did mention the web services as well. That's big. Food, you could buy any item you want basically on it. And again, the way they changed the fact that you can get something shipped for free is changing all the other retailers, including Walmart, to do the same. But they're well behind Amazon right now because Amazon is ingrained in people's phones, and that's how they do business in their own homes at this point.
Scott, real quick on this, because you talked about the employees and saying that they liked working at the company, yet there have been employees that have staged walkouts because they are afraid of getting COVID-19 potentially in the warehouse, even though they're grateful to be working. As we're watching the vaccine being rolled out, we've got, our first responders, medical workers, people on the front lines, elderly, that population. But the Amazon workers, for example, people in retail stores at the level, here on the lower level, grocery stores as well. Do you think these folks are going to get the vaccine in line higher than everybody else, and they need it so that they can, do their jobs and make sure that people get the items they need?
I was born in the 70s, by the way, Joe, so just declaring that, just so that's out there. Jackie, here's the interesting thing. I get it, and every worker has the right to walk out and protest and talk about conditions. I mean, the large scale of Amazon employees have not done that, and I think to your point, look, if it would seem to reckon that if they have the opportunity to get the vaccine, those would be the people that would get it, right? Because they're the ones that were concerned about the conditions and maybe being exposed. So hopefully, yes. I mean, as we've seen some of the orders come in, maybe a little bit more expected than, say, from Pfizer, that we're going to get coming forth here as far as the vaccines. Hopefully that goes down to some of these worker lines where then we don't have some of these walkouts. We don't have some of this dissension that we've seen at, say, food plants and things like that, because they'll get the vaccine as well rather quickly.
It's so important to keep everybody safe. We're going to be watching closely. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Great conversation. Coming up on the show, celebrating Christmas in the